So you're telling me that this beautiful blonde actually transforms into this?
Priscilla.
Ew, nasty. But such is the world of Claymore. And trust me, you guys are in for a ride here. So what are we waiting for? Strap down, grab some food, and let's dive into the dark and depressing world of Claymore. The anime adaptation of Claymore centers around, well, claymores. And also yomas. Yomas are basically monsters who prey on humans, while claymores are half human, half yomas who are sent by the organization to exterminate yomas. What organization? I don't know. The anime doesn't really say that much about them. They're very mysterious. Anyway, claymores have ranks, with one being the best, and to determine this, they use yoki, also known as yoma powers, to defeat the opposing yomas. Oh, and they also have handlers who basically give them their next mission and provide them with the information needed to complete it. Got all that? Sweet, let's continue. In the very first episode, we immediately get a sense of what the world of Claymore is going to be. Dark, dreary, and brutal. On one fateful day, a village finds out that one of its people has been attacked by a yoma. This leads the villagers to approach the elder's house to ask for answers about the situation. See, yomas are monsters who eat humans. Not only that, but they can also take on the form of a normal human being. This makes it hard for normal people to distinguish them from the crowd. Seeing the commotion, the village elder tells everyone he's already called for help, and that a creature known as a Claymore is coming over to help them. This stuns the group, as Claymores are half human and half yoma, but they have no other choice, as they are the only people who can detect yomas in human communities. The villagers aren't thrilled to hear that another yoma is coming to their village, especially since a human just died in a recent attack. Outside the house, a little boy called Raki approaches his older brother Zaki. Zaki informs Raki that a Claymore is coming to the village to help them find the yoma, and just as the two end their little catch-up session, a group of people gathers in front of the village entrance, witnessing the arrival of a silver-haired girl, the Claymore. The arrival surprises Raki. He did not think it would be a girl, but apparently only women can be Claymores. So, the Claymore arrives at the village elder's house, and there, the elder offers her money. However, the Claymore stops him and tells him that a representative will handle the money later. After quite literally aura farming in front of the village elder, she sets out to walk through the village. While the other villagers hide from the Claymore, a weird one starts walking beside her, asking her all the questions. Yup, it's our boy Raki. Anyway, she's just not interested in interacting with him and mostly ignores him altogether. Finally, the Claymore stops to rest at the village's exit. Raki does the same and reveals that the first victims of the yoma were actually his family, and he only survived because his brother Zaki protected him. Damn. Finally, Raki tells the Claymore that his uncle now takes care of him and his brother after the incident. Suddenly, the village bell rings, prompting Raki to go home and help make dinner. Oh, what a sweet kid. However, upon arriving home, Raki finds his uncle dead. Holy crap. Apparently, the yoma had taken over Zaki's body after the attack, allowing him to assimilate with the villagers. As the yoma raises its hand to attack Raki, the Claymore arrives just in time to defeat it. Whew, that was close. After the job, the Claymore leaves as quickly as she arrived, leaving Rocky freaking traumatized by the aftermath. And to top it all off, after finding out that Zaki was the Yoma all along, the village exiles Rocky, thinking he's also a traitor. Rocky then starts walking in hopes of chasing the Claymore, but he collapses in the middle of the desert. Rocky wakes up at an inn the next day and finds out that a Claymore brought him here. Knowing this, Rocky leaves the inn to search for said Claymore. His search then leads him straight into the forests, where he meets yet another silver-haired woman. However, Rocky quickly realizes she is not a Claymore.
I'll be sure to remember that for the next time!
Damn, she's ugly. The now revealed Yoma then holds Rocky hostage, calling for the real Claymore to reveal herself. As the Claymore shows up, the Yoma demands that she toss her sword or she will kill Rocky. At first, the threat doesn't faze the Claymore, but suddenly, when the Yoma realizes that the Claymore cares for Rocky, the Claymore tosses her sword aside. The Yoma then uses this opportunity to attack the Claymore. After a quick scuffle, the Claymore eliminates the Yoma, even after it impales her in the stomach with its hand. God damn! Luckily, Claymores apparently have quick regeneration powers, so she's fine. And after the battle, the Claymore learns that Rocky was exiled from his village. She takes Rocky under her wing and finally reveals her name to be Clare. In episode 2, the journey of Rocky and Clare continues. In the middle of traveling, Rocky's stomach starts grumbling. So Clare kills a huge lizard for them to eat. And as the two settle down, Rocky starts asking Clare even more questions regarding Claymores. Apparently, Claymores don't have to eat that much and can actually go for a full week without eating. After ignoring Rocky's follow-up questions, Clare randomly heads to the nearby woods, telling him not to follow her. Wow. Rude. In the woods, Clare meets a mysterious man named Rubel, her handler. Basically, the one who gives her the missions she sets off to complete. He tells her not to get too attached to Rocky, as he might get in the way of work. Clare clarifies that she's only bringing him around as a cook, but Rubel doesn't seem too convinced. After Rubel looks at her gnarly wound, he reminds her that while she might have good regenerative abilities, she's still vulnerable in various parts of her body. Lastly, before he leaves, he does this.
Feel free to read it at your leisure.
This rattles Clare for some reason. What the heck is in that card? Clare then heads back to Rocky and tells him that they will leave early tomorrow for Mount Shiel. And upon arriving at the town at the foot of Mount Shiel, Clare finds the nearest inn and orders Rocky to stay there. The innkeeper is visibly shaken after Clare's entry and asks her if there's a Yoma in the village. Clare assures him that their village is safe for now. Rocky then accuses Clare of abandoning him, but she calmly tells him that she will be back soon. After Clare leaves, Rubel appears once again to talk to Rocky. He reveals that he's from the same organization as Clare and drops a major bomb. All Claymores used to be human. They become Claymores only after their bodies successfully fuse with a Yoma, giving them the strength to go up against monsters. But the strength comes with a price. If Claymores fall into the temptation of the Yoma's power, they can turn into Yomas themselves. Hearing this, Rocky rushes to find Clare, and after catching up with her, he asks her if she's the one turning into a Yoma. Clare tells him that it's not her, but a friend she's close with. Clare explains that each Claymore carries a black card. When they feel like they're about to turn into a Yoma, they send it to someone they trust, and no will kill them. Hardcore, I know. Later, the two of them finish their climb and reach a part of the mountain with another mysterious Claymore standing, waiting for them. Her name is Elena, and she asks Claire to execute her while her heart and soul are still fully human. Yikes. Rocky tries to convince Claire not to kill her, but of course, Claire ignores him and does the job anyway. She's gotta do what she gotta do. And after Claire lays Elena to rest, Rocky questions why Claymores kill Yomas despite the suffering that comes with it. Claire answers that it's the reason for their existence. Kinda badass if you ask me. In the third episode, Claire receives a request from Rubel, sending her to kill yet another Yoma inside the holy city of Rabona. But with their luck, the city has laws preventing any Claymore or suspicious-looking person from entering. So, Rubel hands her some pills that will weaken her Yoma powers, reverting her golden eyes to normal. And even though she'll pass for a human, Rabona's laws will force Claire to investigate everything without revealing that she's a Claymore, at least until she's located the Yoma. The scene then shifts to Claire and Rocky entering the city disguised as siblings, and after settling at an inn, the two of them head straight to the church's baptism chambers. The two start looking around the chambers, where they find a rotting corpse lying inside one of the room's coffins. Jeez. And after checking every nook and cranny of the room, they meet Father Vincent, the person who requested a Claymore. Father Vincent then tells Claire to come back at night, but there's a problem. A curfew is set by the city, which doesn't allow people to wander the streets after dark. Great. But either way, Claire reassures Father Vincent that she will be back. And after the sun sets, Claire goes back to the church to meet Father Vincent. After arriving, Father Vincent briefs her regarding the incidents happening within the city. According to him, the priests are being attacked by the Yoma, but they have no idea how to stop it. This dilemma eventually led to them sending out for Claymores, regardless of the city laws. And apparently, Father Vincent is pretty desperate. He doesn't care how much it'll cost, he just wants the Yoma dead. However, Claire can't shake the feeling that she's facing an uphill battle, and after Father Vincent agrees to take care of Rocky, no matter what may happen, Claire starts her search. Unfortunately, two guards, Gulk and Sid, interrupt her journey and attack her, mistaking her for a Yoma. Claire skillfully fends them off and escapes. Meanwhile, the real Yoma manages to kill two guards inside the church in Rabona, because of course it does. The next day, Claire continues her search for the Yoma, but Gulk and Sid still want her. As they fight once more, somebody inside the church screams, prompting Claire to disengage and check it out. There, she finds herself up against a voracious eater, a type of Yoma whose appetite has exceeded the normal Yomas. This is bad. As Claire fights the voracious eater, Gulk and Sid arrive on the scene, and after realizing that these two are way easier prey, the voracious eater goes after them. Claire manages to save them by blocking the slash, but this gets her injured in the process. The two guards then try to fight the Yoma, but to no avail. Claire protects them with everything she's got, but a mistake leads to this. Oh, God. The horror continues in episode 4 as Claire lies unconscious in front of the two guards, and for some reason, the Yoma goes into hiding once more, sparing the guards' lives. Gulk picks up Claire's body to get her to safety, much to Sid's dismay. The next day, Rocky finds out about Claire's condition and rushes over to the room Father Vincent prepared for her. And after a couple of days, Claire wakes up and asks Father Vincent to gather all the people working in the church. That way, she can check them one by one and see who exactly is the voracious eater. Father Vincent complies and gathers all the priests in the church, much to their confusion. But unfortunately, the search came up short. Claire thinks hard about the places where a Yoma could be hiding and realizes that it might be the baptismal chamber, aka the place where Rocky is right now. At this point, I'm pretty sure Rocky is either cursed or just unlucky. Claire arrives just in time to save Rocky from being unalived by the Yoma. Gulk and Sid follow close behind her and help her fight the Yoma. Eventually, Claire lands a blow that cuts off one of the Yoma's arms. Nice! But in doing so, she has exceeded her limit. The Yoma notices and takes advantage of Claire's weakened state by impaling her. Jesus Christ. Gulk steps in to save Claire, saying that she's their only hope in killing this monster. In a last-ditch effort, Gulk lets the Yoma impale him, so he'll have a chance to pin it down. This leaves Claire a clear view to execute the monster, but Claire's problems don't stop there. You see, Claire used too much Yoki, aka Yoma powers, and just like her friend Elena, Claire starts feeling like she's going to turn into a Yoma pretty damn soon. So she unfortunately asks Gulk to execute her. Gulk steps beside her and readies his sword, but Rocky throws himself at Claire, causing Gulk to hesitate. While hugging Claire, Rocky reveals that she's the only reason for his happiness. And after Rocky finishes his monologue, this might as well sound like a confession, a huge surge of energy swirls around Claire, and as the energy dissipates, Claire realizes that she's turned back to normal, most likely because of Rocky's love. The next day, Father Vincent, Gulk, and Sid all meet Rocky and Claire before they set off. There, Gulk gifts Rocky a sword to one day protect Claire if necessary. As Claire and Rocky leave, Sid has some words for the young boy.
I need you to grow big and strong, got it? Strong enough so you can help out Claire.
All's well that ends well. In episode 5, we open with a mysteriously unnamed Claymore with long, blonde hair. After completing her quest in an unnamed village, the long-haired Claymore meets with her handler, Orsay. She receives her quest and promptly leaves after a quick exchange of words. This is where the handler goes to a lengthy monologue, revealing the Claymore's name to be Teresa, and apparently, Teresa is the most powerful Claymore around. Interesting. Upon Teresa's arrival at the mission's location, she immediately spots and kills 6 Yomas. God damn. This sends the townspeople into a panic, because to them, she just straight up killed people. But after a few minutes, the people she killed transform into Yomas. Teresa explains the situation to the townspeople and warns them that there's still one left in the village. In the blink of an eye, Teresa immediately locates the other Yoma and cuts it down, leaving the blonde child in front of it soaked in its blood. Brutal. The next day, the villagers meet Teresa outside an inn. There, the blonde child from yesterday innocently holds her cape, but suddenly, Teresa hits the child, knocking her into the freaking ground. Jeez. Teresa questions the townspeople about the deal with the child. They reveal that she only recently arrived in the village. No one really knows much about her. However, the elder says that the child was probably being held hostage by the Yoma, so she couldn't exactly get away from it. As the child continues to get close to Teresa, she basically gets fed up with it, and Teresa ends up kicking the child again before leaving the village. But the child is relentless and ends up tracking Teresa in a nearby forest. As Teresa tells the child to stop following her again, a group of bandits suddenly shows up, causing Teresa to attack and cut one of the bandits' hands. Afterwards, as the bandit leader reveals himself, Teresa orders him to bandage the hurt bandit's arm. Apparently, Claymores cannot kill humans, whether by accident or not. If the Claymore somehow kills a person, they're executed. Harsh. The bandit leader then wants to take advantage of the situation by, having fun with her. Ew. but the whole group backs off after Teresa reveals her body.
Any takers?
I think I'll pass.
What the heck did they see? After that, Teresa leaves the child once more, ordering her not to follow her. But despite Teresa's warnings, the child continues to follow her. So finally, Teresa caves in, taking the child under her wing, and as the two continue their journey, Teresa's stoic expressions soften. She even starts smiling. She also figures out that she can't just keep calling the child girl, so she gives her a name that we're already pretty familiar with. Claire. In episode 6, Claire and Teresa's journey towards the next town continues, and as Teresa shows Claire that they're close to the town, Claire starts to cry. Apparently, Teresa is looking to drop Claire off there, but Teresa assures her that she won't leave until she's absolutely positive that Claire will be well taken care of. After setting up camp, Teresa leaves Claire to wander in the woods. Then, Teresa calls out the one-armed bandit, who's been apparently following them this entire time. The bandit comes out of the woods and attempts to take advantage of Teresa. Unfortunately, Teresa can't fight back because of him being a human and all. Luckily though, Claire arrives just in time to distract him. And as the bandit is about to hit Claire, Teresa manages to disarm him, thankfully causing the bandit to leave. After the altercation, Claire hugs Teresa and finally starts speaking. Teresa then hugs Claire tightly, and the two share a nice moment together. It's really wholesome. After arriving in town, Teresa not only buys Claire some new clothes, but she also manages to kill a Yoma living amongst the townspeople. A very productive day. Afterwards, she asks the village elder for someone who might be kind enough to take care of Claire. Claire clearly hates this idea, but Teresa wants her to have a normal human life. So after a kind-hearted grandma volunteers, Teresa leaves Claire behind. Later, she takes a final look at the town while reminiscing about Claire, when suddenly she notices a group of bandits heading right towards it. She rushes over, but Teresa's unfortunately too late. The town is already in ruins. She looks for Claire and finds the one-armed bandit dragging her while unconscious. Yeesh. The bandit then taunts her, knowing that Teresa's not able to kill humans, but Teresa is already enraged, so she ends up slaughtering all the bandits to save Claire. We then learn that Orsay witnessed the slaughtering in the village, leading him to send a group of Claymores to deal with Teresa. But Teresa knows fully well that she has violated one of the rules, so she prepares herself for the worst, aka execution. And after Orsay assures her that Claire will be taken by the organization, Teresa accepts her fate. But of course, she ends up changing her mind right before the Claymores attack her, and like a classic anime hero, Teresa defeats all of them in one fell swoop. Afterwards, Claire hugs Teresa, and Teresa confesses that she's not ready to die yet. She then tells Orsay that Claire has given her a new purpose in life. Orsay warns Teresa that she'll regret her decision, but Teresa doesn't care, as she simply walks away. Aww. In the next episode, we open on a few Claymores gathering to do a slaying quest in a specific town. Now, these aren't just your normal Claymores. They are the best of the best. In second place, the shy Priscilla. In third, the quicksword Elena. Fourth, the muscular Sophia. And in fifth, the Storm-Wind Noelle. By the way, Sophia isn't really muscular, she's just really strong. The organization tasks these guys to slay Teresa after deserting the group. Elena warns the group that Priscilla is their only chance to take Teresa down. See, just like Teresa, Priscilla doesn't use Yoki to kill Yomas. She's just that powerful. Over on Teresa and Claire's side, the two of them are staying in a town, keeping Teresa's identity hidden. However, a Yoma attack forces Teresa to blow her cover and slay it, making the townspeople celebrate. And in exchange, Teresa asks for a place to stay. As Claire and Teresa have a moment of rest, Teresa starts sensing the Claymore's scent to hunt her. Suddenly, Elena enters Teresa's room and attacks her. Teresa calmly deflects her blow, but a follow-up attack from both Sophia and Noelle forces Teresa to protect and take Claire, moving the fight outside. Priscilla appears behind Teresa right after, surprising her. Apparently, she wasn't able to sense Priscilla's presence at all. Priscilla attacks Teresa, forcing her into a defensive stance. As Teresa starts to gain the upper hand, the other three Claymores jump in to help Priscilla. Priscilla urges the other three to stay out of her fight, saying she wants to fight Teresa honorably. But Elena tells her she cannot beat Teresa alone. Elena then demands that Priscilla throw her sense of honor away, especially since Teresa is officially a criminal now. With that, Elena commands Priscilla to focus all her Yoki on killing Teresa. Priscilla then begins charging her Yoki powers together with Elena, Sophia, and Noelle as they prepare for the final clash.
But you have brought this on.
Things are heating up. In the next episode, Teresa's fight for her and Claire's freedom continues as Priscilla, Noelle, Sophia, and Elena charge at her. While the four top-tier Claymores are fighting her with their Yoki powers, Teresa remains calm and sees an opportunity to counterattack. She slowly picks the team apart, wounding Noelle and Sophia. Finally, she stands beside Priscilla and contemplates killing her, but she feels that Priscilla will be the only person who can actually kill her in the future, so she lets Priscilla live, allowing her and Claire to leave town. Feeling ashamed and enraged for her failure, Priscilla loses control over her Yoki powers. The other members of the top-tier Claymore squad try to stop Priscilla, but Priscilla does not care. She chases after Teresa, leaving the three behind, and as she catches up with Teresa and Claire, Teresa immediately notices the shift in Priscilla. This cannot be good. Teresa warns Priscilla that she might become a Yoma if she continues, but Priscilla is not backing down. Seeing that there's nothing she can do to stop Priscilla, Teresa finally activates a little bit of her own Yoki power, ready to take her on. Oh man, someone call an ambulance. For Priscilla, that is. As Elena, Sophia, and Noelle finally catch up to Priscilla, they see that Priscilla is pretty much at her limit. Regardless, Teresa is still able to keep her at bay, even landing a few blows and wounding Priscilla. But after some time, Priscilla finally surpasses the limit, turning herself into a Yoma. She then appeals to Teresa's emotions, begging her to put a stop to her fate. But just as Teresa raises her sword, Priscilla quickly slashes her hands off and freaking decapitates her. Holy crap. And to top it off, Priscilla immediately turns into this monster.
She's a monster.
Damn. She kinda bad though. Anyway, the three remaining Claymores try to fight Priscilla, but she's way too powerful now. Monster Priscilla quickly executes the three, leaving Claire alone to mourn the death of Teresa. Oh, Claire. In episode 9, Claire picks up Teresa's head and goes back to the village. There, she sees a familiar face, Rubel. She chases him down and begs him to put Teresa's flesh inside her. What the heck? Rubel grins creepily And then we return to the present day, where we jump to a group of Claymores making their way towards a new mission. And remember how present-day Clare has been slaying Yomas? Yeah, after the group of Claymores arrives at the village, they find Clare in the aftermath. One of the Claymores then confronts Clare, telling her that what she did was reckless, because the report said they were going to kill voracious eaters in the village. However, Clare argues that the only ones in the village were normal Yomas, so she killed them while they were still away. Later that day, Clare meets with Rubel, and he tells her that she doesn't stand a chance against actual voracious eaters. Rubel adds that the Yoma she encountered in Rabona was not a voracious eater. Apparently, it was just a normal Yoma. He explains that the term voracious eater is actually something they just made up. The actual name for them is awakened. Rubel guesses that Clare wants to avenge Teresa's death by killing the infamous Priscilla, who's apparently also categorized as an awakened. But he warns her that Priscilla is at the top of the awakened hierarchy, so in other words, she pretty damn strong. But eventually, Rubel gives in and assigns Clare to a squad tasked with hunting and awakened. Clare arrives a week later at the agreed meeting spot, pissing off the other squad members who had to wait for her. The Claymores introduce themselves one by one. The rank 6 Phantom Mariah, the defensive fighter and rank 15 Deneva, the aggressive rank 22 Helen, and finally, the lowly rank 47 Clare. Helen immediately makes fun of Clare after hearing her rank, because apparently there are only 47 Claymores, making her the weakest of them all. This worries Rocky, but Clare handles this like a pro, not letting this get to her. Later, Clare assures Rocky that she'll be back in a week, urging him to stop worrying about her. Yeah, Rocky, believe in her. The humiliation for Clare continues as the group climbs the mountain where the awakened has been reported. But Mariah, who acts as their leader, stops Helen and reminds her that their survival relies on their teamwork. After the squad finds a place to rest, Mariah walks over to Clare and challenges her to a sparring match, adding that Clare feels like the strongest Claymore Mariah's ever seen. Because of that, she doesn't really believe Clare to be ranked 47 at all. Despite the compliment though, Clare loses to Mariah and passes out. Hey, you sure you can sleep there? The next day, the other members of the squad wake Clare up. Apparently, she crashed right after her match with Mariah. Afterwards, the squad continues the journey and meets a man midway. The man tells them that he's from the village that called for the Claymores. However, Mariah notices something wrong. She attempts to slice the man, but he's too quick and ends up hurting her. Mariah realizes that the organization's information regarding the mission is way off, because this is clearly an awakened being. The Claymores look at the man and see this.
A male awakened being?
He looks horrid. Ew. Episode 10 starts with, yes, yet another Claymore being summoned. This time, her name is Galatea, and she's called by this black-robed and mysterious man named Ermita. Ermita tells her to direct her senses towards the mountain in front of her.
I'm sure you can sense the Yoma's Yoki without any difficulty.
And over to the squad, they're not exactly having a good time. So after Deneve loses her hand, Helen charges at the awakened. But it proves to be too damn strong. Helen gets caught off guard, forcing Clare to jump in and take the blow for her. Helen uses her Yoki powers to extend her hands and slice off the Yoma's limbs, but with its regeneration powers, it's not working very well. Suddenly, Deneve seemingly comes back from the dead after using her Yoki powers to regenerate her missing arm. Finally, Clare regroups with the team after the Yoma knocked her out earlier, and the team aims for the Yoma's head as a last resort. As the fight goes on, Helen ponders why the Awakened is a guy. To her knowledge, only girls can become Claymores, potentially becoming Yomas. Miraya then reveals that male Claymores were actually manufactured back in the day. Interesting. The problem was that guys tended to abuse their Yoki powers. Because of that, they transformed into awakened beings way faster than the girls. The male Yoma then commends Miraya for knowing the history of the Claymores, but he notes that she missed one small detail. The Yoma explains that they were sent here not to kill him, but to be killed by him. He then stabs Claire, Deneve, and Helen, rendering them unable to fight. We then jump over to Rocky. The innkeeper delivers his meal and asks about Claire. Rocky tells him that she has work to do in the mountains. The innkeeper then reveals that in the past, another group of Claymores also had a mission up there, but they never came back. The innkeeper kinda gets shocked by what he himself said, so he tries to reassure Rocky that Claire is coming back. Alright, now back to the action. Miraya gathers her wounded comrades and starts the fight. Miraya's speed fascinates the awakened being, and he realizes that he's facing none other than the infamous Phantom Miraya, one of the fastest Claymores around. As the fight continues, Helen and Claire recover just enough to be conscious again. Helen wonders why Miraya didn't use her super speed from the beginning, but Claire tells her she's probably saving it as a finishing move, because apparently she can't use it multiple times. Not only that, but Miraya is already at her limit. Suddenly, the awakened being pins Miraya and stabs her in the stomach, causing Miraya to yell in pain. But Claire refuses to back down. She starts slowly walking towards the awakened being, dodging its attacks. As Claire fights the awakened being, Miraya realizes that Claire is using the Yoki power from the awakened being and using it to predict its moves. Looks like our girl Claire is taking a page out of Teresa's book. Claire continues her advance and eventually ends up right below the Yoma. She slices its limbs, but when she tries slicing its neck, her sword bounces off because of the Yoma's armor. Seeing this, Miraya teams up with Claire to kill the awakened being once and for all. In episode 11, the four Claymores slowly recover from their injuries. Miraya checks in on Helen and Claire, asking if they've reached their limit. The two admit that they certainly have. Helen also reveals that Deneve had experienced the same thing. Miraya theorizes that the organization might have sent them on a suicide mission because all the members of their squad have almost awakened. Claire turns to Miraya to inquire about her experience, and Miraya reveals that she actually did come close to awakening once, but apparently not a lot of people know about it. Miraya confesses that it happened during her first mission, after finding out that the Yoma they were tasked to kill was in fact a close friend of hers. Miraya mentions that she felt completely lost after killing her friend, and ever since then, she vowed to fight the organization because of its treatment of the Claymores. She adds that the organization treats them as tools, sending them on suicide missions after they outlived their usefulness. After Miraya's storytelling session, Claire asks Miraya if there are any changes to her body, since they've come so close to awakening. Miraya tells her that their yokai aura has probably changed, meaning that their limitations are no longer certain. Miraya argues that right now, their body's state lies somewhere between a Claymore and an awakened being. From far away, Galatea and Ermita, the Claymore and handler duo from afar, are still spying on them using Galatea's Yoki aura sensing abilities. Watch out, everyone. Back to the four Claymores in their little podcast. Deneve pushes her Yoki power to the absolute limit and returns to being human after completely healing herself, much to the three's relief. From afar, Galatea senses this change in Yoki aura and tells Ermita that one of the Claymores has awakened. However, before Galatea and Ermita leave, Galatea notices that all of a sudden, the Claymore she thought had awakened has stabilized. Weird. She realizes that something strange is happening at that location, but she keeps it to herself and leaves with Ermita. With Deneve back, Mariah tells them that they have to hide their anger towards the organization. Mariah adds that they should keep quiet and follow orders for the time being, warning them to be wary of the Claymores, Alicia, Beth, Galatea, Ophelia, and Rafaela, who holds ranks 1 through 5 respectively. Mariah specifically tells them to avoid Ophelia, saying that she has an obsession with killing awakened beings. Good to know. Finally, the 4 of them do this. I guess this is their way of forming an alliance? In episode 12, Claire seems to have finally erased her troublemaker record in the organization. Right after finishing an assignment, Rubel sends Claire to hunt another awakened being. During the journey, Rocky starts practicing with the sword he got from Galk, hoping to soon protect Claire himself. But Claire tells Rocky to stay put, saying she'll go to the destination alone tomorrow. Rocky complains, of course, but Claire brushes him off. The next day, Claire sets off on her own, with Rocky secretly following behind her. Upon arrival, Claire spots another Claymore facing away from her. Claire talks to her and asks where the other members of the party are. The mysterious Claymore assures her that nobody else is coming, right before creepily teleporting behind her. She starts sniffing Claire. Apparently, she smells like an awakened being. By this point, Claire has already figured out that the person behind her is a single-digit ranked Claymore, aka one of the people Mariah warned them about. She even does this. Ugh. Seeing Claire in danger, Rocky clumsily rushes in and swings his sword. The Claymore dodges the blow, but this allows Claire to catch a glimpse of her emblem, revealing that the Claymore is actually Ophelia. Ophelia attacks Rocky, but Claire blocks her sword just in time. However, Ophelia, being much stronger than Claire, breaks the stalemate and cuts both of Claire's legs. And to top it off, Ophelia proposes a messed up game. The rules are that Ophelia will start fighting Rocky using only a fraction of her strength. Little by little, she will increase her strength output, essentially putting Rocky on a time limit. All Claire has to do is reattach her legs before Ophelia kills Rocky. Jeez, that's up. As the game starts, Ophelia starts hacking and slashing Rocky almost immediately. Rocky gets wounded, but he makes sure not to create noise so Claire can concentrate on putting her legs back together. However, in the middle of this psychotic game, a black-haired girl suddenly appears, causing Ophelia to stop her messed up game. Rocky urges the girl to run away, but the black-haired girl suddenly starts transforming into an awakened being. Rocky's luck strikes again. The awakened being starts firing off her tentacles and eventually destroys the whole town. Jesus Christ. Luckily, Claire is able to reattach her legs by pushing her Yoki power to the limit, allowing her to save Rocky. Claire senses grave danger from Ophelia and tells Rocky to hold on tight to her. She then literally starts bailing the heck out of there while carrying Rocky. Ophelia, on the other hand, is left to deal with the awakened. Oh, never mind. She's already done. Over to Claire and Rocky. Claire proposes that the two part ways for now because Ophelia's target is only her. He tries changing Claire's mind, telling her that he wants to be with her even if it means risking his life. Claire then basically shuts him up with a kiss and tells him he shouldn't say those words. She adds that they should do their best to survive, and Claire then promises that they will meet again when the time is right. Damn! Rocky managed to bag Claire. Let's go! In episode 13, Ophelia finally catches up to Claire. The two start their fight, and Ophelia immediately uses her Yoki powers against Claire. However, Claire activates her skill of reading Yoki aura, blocking Ophelia's blows. Despite this, Ophelia's strength is simply too much for Claire. She gets hit by the rippling sword, a new move Ophelia developed, which can be done by vibrating her arms so fast that the sword starts to look like a snake. A fitting move for a woman that looks like a snake, not gonna lie. Anyway, Claire gets hit, her right arm gets cut, and she falls off a cliff straight into the river below. That's gotta hurt. Don't worry though, our girl is still alive. See, it's all part of her plan. She let Ophelia cut her up because she wants Ophelia to believe that she's dead. Meanwhile, Claire gets out of the river and thinks of a way to attach her arm back. However, Claire's trick only lasts a few minutes, as Ophelia notices Claire's intentions. Ophelia tracks Claire down and starts attacking her, forcing Claire to defend using her non-dominant arm. And this is all child's play for Ophelia. She's just that much stronger. As the two continue to cross swords, a cloaked woman appears out of nowhere. Claire tells her to run away, but Ophelia starts attacking her. This is no problem for the cloaked woman, however, as she starts blocking all of Ophelia's blows with lightning-fast speed. God damn! And yeah, she's even faster than Ophelia. Finally, the woman gets tired of Ophelia's crazy moves, so she cuts her up and leaves her unconscious. It's at this point that Claire gets a good look at who the hooded figure is. It's Elena. Remember? One of the people sent to kill Teresa way back in the day? Wait, Elena is still alive? Later, Claire wakes up inside a house with her arm still missing. Elena enters the house and tells Claire that her arm can't be reattached anymore. Claire ignores her and tries to go outside, but Elena urges her that she can't do anything in her state. She follows it up by saying that she just needs time to recover because Ophelia is still alive. After some convincing from Elena by quite literally pinning her to the bed,
As you are now, I doubt that you could even slay a human.
Claire finally gives in and rests. Shortly after, the two start talking about the past, and Elena finds out that Claire is still going after Priscilla. Elena urges her to stop her quest for vengeance because Priscilla is just too powerful. She goes on to show Claire her body, and apparently she's also missing an arm because of Priscilla's attack back then. Elena also tells Claire that she's actually 1/4 Yoma compared to the others, who are typically 1/2, because usually Claymores have Yomas in them, but Claire has Teresa, who is a Claymore. In other words, she's weaker than other Claymores. Elena asks Claire why she continues hunting Priscilla. Claire replies that it's because Teresa was the one who gave her everything, essentially becoming her mother figure. Hearing this, Elena finally gives in and agrees to train Claire in the art of the quicksword. Ooh, fancy. Later that evening, Ophelia activates her Yoki powers to regenerate herself from Elena's attack, but she uses just a little too much Yoki power, forcing her to awaken. The next morning, Claire and Elena start their training. Meanwhile, Ophelia wakes up and starts wondering why she's in the mood for some human innards. Because, you know, just awakened being things. Yikes. In episode 14, Claire's training continues, and Elena notices that Claire is about to hit her limit. She reminds her that the key to mastering the quicksword includes rest and recuperation. After taking a bath at a nearby lake, Claire realizes that Elena left her a former Claymore uniform for her to wear. So after cleaning up and getting dressed, Claire joins Elena for a campfire, and the two reminisce on their past with Teresa. Elena tells Claire that she shouldn't blame herself for Teresa's death, because truly, she made Teresa feel human again. She tells Clare that despite everything, she believes Teresa wouldn't change what happened. The next day, Elena's assessment proves to be correct. She tells Clare that she will never master the art of the quicksword because her heart and mind are too easily influenced by the Yoma inside of her. Elena then cuts her own right arm and orders Clare to attach it. Think of it as a farewell gift from her. Apparently, this is the only way Clare will be able to use the quicksword right now. Despite being confused, Clare takes Elena's remaining arm and attaches it anyway. The next day, Elena sends Clare off. The moment Clare leaves, though, yet another Claymore shows up behind Elena. She reveals herself to be Rafaela, the 5th-ranked Claymore. Rafaela then tells Elena that she's going to execute her for betraying the organization. But before anything happens between the two, the scene jumps to Clare. And shortly after, she meets Ophelia, who's now apparently a starving, awakened being. Well, this can't be good. Hungry Ophelia then starts attacking Clare and sends her flying towards a nearby lake. Ophelia follows Clare to the lake and catches a glimpse of herself. Seeing her new form, Ophelia forgets about Clare for a minute, lamenting her transformation to an awakened being. Clare sees this as an opportunity and cuts Ophelia's limbs. This doesn't matter though, because Ophelia just regenerates like it's nothing, because of course she does. After that, Ophelia suggests another screwed up game. If Clare can carve through Ophelia's awakened flesh to reach the human body at her tail, she wins. And now, with the game's rules set, Clare starts using quicksword to chop through Ophelia. Then, like a maniac, she stabs Clare because I guess she got annoyed somehow. See, Clare still has trouble controlling her right arm. Well, Elena's right arm, that is. So, her slicing and dicing isn't that efficient yet. When Claire's about to give up, Ophelia does this.
What if you die? Have you thought about what happens to everyone who depends on you if I kill you right here?
Girl, make up your mind. Anyway, Clare regains her fighting spirit and slices through Ophelia's remaining body. Finally, Clare reaches her, and Ophelia warns Clare that if she loses against Priscilla, she will never forgive her. Clare then proceeds to kill Ophelia, laying her body to rest in the lake. In episode 15, Rubel reports to the organization that he has not been in contact with Clare for more than 3 months now. That's a long-ass time. This worries the organization, as Clare is considered an experiment. You know, being the very first quarter Yoma in the world and all. The organization calls for Ermita and asks him to locate Clare. Clare, on the other hand, starts her search for Rocky. She disguises herself by lowering her voice and taking the pills that suppress her Yoki powers. Now that she's hiding in plain sight, she arrives at a big town and settles at an inn. There, the innkeeper reveals that 4 claymores have been spotted. According to the innkeeper, a large Yoma was spotted somewhere in the mountains near the town, and a few claymores were sent to kill it. Clare spots the 4 claymores in the street and is able to identify a claymore ranked in the single digits. The next day, Clare continues her search for Rocky. The innkeeper reveals that the group of claymores had left town earlier that day, and now Clare has ample time to find Rocky. As Clare roams around the town, she reaches a fountain with a statue of 2 women standing back to back, called the Statue of Teresa and Clare. This is where Teresa got her name, by the way. As she approaches the statue, she notices 2 people, a boy and a girl, fighting. The girl mentions that she talked to a stranger some time ago, who apparently asked about the fountain. Clare approaches the girl and interrogates her about the stranger. The girl describes the stranger to Clare, and after a little bit, she realizes that they're talking about Rocky. But apparently, this boy was seen 10 days ago, so he's probably outside the village by now. The girl then asks Clare who Rocky is to her, and Clare takes a little too long looking for an answer. Ooh, someone's in love. Her reminiscing is interrupted by one of the Claymores coming back from the mountain mission. She shows up mutilated, and she's basically bleeding to death. Yeesh. Apparently, the bleeding Claymore managed to drag herself to town looking for help. Before the bleeding Claymore passes out, Claire catches her and manages to get some intel. She asks Claire to call the organization, thinking that the awakened beings and the Yomas residing in the nearby mountains are up to something. After the bleeding Claymore officially dies, Claire abandons her search for Rocky for now and rushes to the mountain. We then jump over to the 9th-ranked Claymore, Jean, being tortured by 2 awakened beings. One ogre-looking guy, and another one who looks to be your average human girl. The girl commands the ogre guy to continue torturing Jean and another Claymore, hoping for them to awaken. And pretty soon, the other Claymore, tired of the pain of torture, unfortunately awakens. However, after the ogre guy assesses the recently turned Claymore, he determines that the awakened being is too weak. So the girl orders him to do this. Damn. Ew. After the failed experiment, the girl realizes the only way to get powerful awakened beings is to target those in the single digits, leaving Jean as their only choice. On her way to the caves where the Claymores are being tortured, Claire runs into a group of Yomas whom she kills instantly. However, she starts wondering why the Yomas are working together in the first place, and why are they so coordinated in their attacks? Weird. In the next episode, Claire finally reaches the cave and notes that something is off with the Yoki aura she's sensing. As she enters the cave, more Yomas come out of nowhere. Apparently, she couldn't sense them for some reason. And as she wanders deeper inside the cave, she meets the ogre guy, an awakened being whose name is finally revealed as Duff. Claire attempts to fight Duff, but he's actually pretty strong. Duff's outer skin is too thick for Claire to slice, which results in her having her legs broken and being captured by Duff. Yikes. But as he's about to kill her, Galatea appears out of nowhere and saves Claire. A fight breaks out between Galatea and Duff, and Galatea makes it seem so easy. Turns out, Galatea can influence her opponent's moves, helping her avoid their blows. Taking advantage of this, she starts looking for Duff's weaknesses and cuts his hand off in the process. Nice! While Duff wails in pain, the girl, who's been hiding deep in the cave, finally reveals herself to Claire and Galatea. Then, for some reason, the girl tells them that Duff is her man. Yeah, you heard that right. Girl, standards? Anyway, she gives Duff some advice on how to hit Galatea. Basically, she figured out that Galatea can influence her opponent's movements, but not everything, only parts of it. Following the girl's advice, Duff starts landing attacks on Galatea, putting her in a bad spot. Seeing Galatea slowly losing ground, Claire activates her Yoki power to instantly regenerate her legs and save Galatea. She almost awakens, but Galatea influences her Yoki power to stop her from fully awakening. Then, Galatea reveals that the girl in front of them is called Riffle, one of the creatures of the abyss. Apparently, there are 3 of them. One in the northern lands, one in the southern lands, and the girl in front of them is from the western lands. Galatea explains that the creatures of the abyss are all former number 1 Claymores who have awakened, making them very powerful awakened beings. They also established their territories in different directions to avoid conflict. However, Riffle corrects Galatea and says that establishing their territories where they are currently was just a coinky-dink. Galatea asks Riffle why she suddenly made her presence known, as the creatures of the abyss prefer to stay hidden. Refil reveals that it's because she's fighting the creature of the abyss in the north, mentioning that the creature has also recently recruited a new awakened being with a single horn. Upon hearing this rather unique description, Claire assumes that it's most likely Priscilla. This makes Claire's Yoki power go haywire, and she asks Refil where she can meet the infamous northern creature of the abyss. Refil tells her that she will only reveal it if she lands a hit on her. Hearing this, Claire immediately gets to work, and she almost lands a hit, but Galatea disarms Claire, putting her on the ground until she calms down. Galatea tells Claire that she almost awakened due to Refil's taunting. She adds that to be able to kill the awakened being in front of them, they need the help of another Claymore, trapped inside the cave, aka Jean. Galatea tells Claire to go to the lower level to retrieve Jean. She'll handle tough. Claire quickly arrives where Jean is being held captive, but unfortunately, she's too late, because Jean is already starting to awaken.
Too late. She's gone.
Ah, no. In the next episode, Jean begs Claire to kill her. This puzzles Claire, wondering how Jean's human side is even still conscious right now. Claire ignores Jean's pleas and hugs her, assuring Jean that she can still come back as a human. Claire then influences Jean's Yoki powers to help revert her awakening. After letting Jean rest for a bit, Claire tells her that she needs her help to defeat Tough. Claire and Jean arrive just in time to help Galatea against Tough. Galatea proposes a plan where she and Claire distract Tough. That way, Jean can power up her corkscrew secret move. Apparently, it's the only move that can pierce through Tough's neck and also kill him once and for all. So Claire and Galatea get to work while Jean twists her arm in preparation for her finishing move. After some time, Claire and Galatea are able to impale Tough's hands to the ground and provide Jean with the perfect chance to strike. Jean launches herself and pierces through Tough's left hand, but she unfortunately gets knocked down by Tough's other hand, along with Galatea and Claire. Afterwards, Refil tries to collect their bodies for their forced awakenings, but Claire has other plans. Claire asks Jean if she can do her special move again. Thankfully, Jean's got the strength for one more strike. Claire then starts to overwhelm Tough with her quicksword as Jean powers up again. Meanwhile, Refil simply sits and observes Tough getting beaten up by Claire. Once Jean is done with her preparations, Claire tells her to attack. Then, Claire sits back and concentrates her Yoki powers on her right hand to be able to use the quicksword to parry Tough's moves without hitting Jean. Then this happens. Finally! Jean tries to go for a second clean cut to kill Tough, but Refil steps in to save him. Claire lands a blow on Refil, but she simply absorbs it and transforms into her awakened form. Remember Refil's game from earlier? Well, she still considers Claire's hit a point, forcing her to reveal the name of the northern creature of the abyss, and it's none other than Eiley. Refil tells Claire and the others that if they want to defeat Eiley, their best option is to team up with her, but she immediately disappears. Whoa, creepy. With Refil now gone, Galatea suddenly turns her sword to Claire, telling her that she's taking her back to the organization. But Claire's not going that easily, so a battle starts brewing between the two until Jean steps in. Jean tells Galatea that since Claire saved her life belongs to Claire now, and that she will defend her even if it leads to her death. After hearing this, Galatea says that she will turn a blind eye and wishes the two good luck in their endeavors. She's actually kinda nice, huh? In episode 18, Jean starts following Claire all over the place, and yeah, Claire's not a fan. Jean tells Claire that she won't leave her alone until her debt's been repaid. Suddenly, Rubel and Rafaela appear out of nowhere. Rubel tells Claire that her new assignment is to go to the north and deal with the awakened beings there. And to top it off, Rubel also reveals that Rocky is heading that way too, so it's a win-win. Later, later, Clare finds herself at Pieta, a city in the northern regions. Jean still follows her, much to Claire's annoyance. Clare reunites with Deneve, Helen, and Mariah in Pieta, with Mariah being in charge of the whole operation. At least we see some familiar faces. According to Mariah, there are more than 20 Claymores involved in the mission, including the ranked 8 Windcutter Flora, the ranked 11 Undine of the Twin Swords, and the ranked 13 Veronica. Just Veronica. Anyway, Mariah divides the squad into 5 groups in preparation for the attack, with Flora, Undine, Veronica, Mariah, and Jean acting as squad leaders. Later that day, Clare, Mariah, Deneve, and Helen meet up at a nearby cafe to finally catch up. Oh, and also, Jean joins them after Clare assures the squad that she's one of them. Clare then asks Mariah about the chances of the mission succeeding, and apparently is a big fat 0, especially since the organization expects them to eliminate Eiley, the strongest awakened being alive. Mariah theorizes that the organization knows about this and that they are using them to buy themselves time. Aw, they're sacrificial lambs. Meanwhile, 3 awakened beings make their way to the entrance of Pieta, a hooded one, a blindfolded one, and a scarred one. The scarred one, we'll just call him Scar for now, starts attacking Pieta, killing civilians left and right. Mariah and the others rush to defend the city. Once all the Claymores are assembled, Mariah's team starts dealing with Scar, and Flora's team starts dealing with the hooded awakened beast, and we're gonna call this one Robe. Flora assumes no help will come from the low-ranked Claymores on her team, so she heads straight to kill Robe before it can transform. However, Robe takes control of one Claymore and suppresses the other 4 before puppeting the Claymore to kill her teammates. On the brink of being killed, Clare does this. Damn, Clare? She's still got some things up her sleeve. Jean, on the other hand, is having a lot of problems fighting against the blindfolded awakened being, whom I will call Blind. Yes, I know, I'm so original. Anyway, seeing that some squads are having trouble dealing with the awakened beings, Veronica's squad steps in to help Jean's squad, while Undine's squad helps Flora's. Things are heating up around here. The action continues in episode 19 as Undine fights the Robe alongside Flora, but because of Undine's pride, she gets isolated, and Robe starts to use his Yoki aura control powers again. Why is this dude nameless? I'm tired of repeating Robe. Anyway, Undine overpowers the awakened being's control and continues the fight. Flora insists everyone get ready to assist Undine, but Deneve and Clare stop her. Why? Well, it's because Undine has not fully gained control of herself yet. On Jean's side of things, she and Veronica's team defeat Blind thanks to Jean's killer move. Meanwhile, Clare and Deneve save Undine from the clutches of Robe. But of course, Robe uses its power once more, forcing Clare and Deneve to push past their limits just to beat it. Robe gets caught off guard by these two, especially since they're still human. The two take advantage of his confusion and start kicking his ass. And after some time, Deneve lands a slash on Robe's neck, but unfortunately, the awakened being's shell is too hard to be completely sliced through. Undine goes over to help, and thanks to that, the two slice off its head. Score! But this isn't over just yet. Robe's head wakes up and uses its Yoki aura manipulation abilities to control 2 lower-ranked Claymores to kill each other. Luckily, Flora and Clare are quick on their feet, shredding Robe's head to pieces. The only battle left is the one with Mariah's team, and it's not looking so good. Just kidding. Clare's worry seems to be unnecessary, as Mariah quickly defeats Scar, and as everyone catches their breath, Undine confronts Mariah about her squad assignment. She tells Mariah that she doesn't agree with it because the weak Claymores are being paired with high-ranking ones, resulting in the lower ranks getting away. Flora, on the other hand, sees the vision here. She defends Mariah's assignment, saying that this will help the lower ranks gain more experience. Undine scoffs, claiming that she doesn't want to die because of some other person's incompetence, so she ends up leaving the area. Then Claire, Mariah, Deneve, and Helen share their thoughts on the mission. Basically, they're all worried that the whole squad will find out that the mission has little to no chance of success, which might result in them leaving. Mariah insists that they have no other choice but to fight and follow the organization's orders. Flora hears all of this but chooses to keep quiet. We then get a glimpse of Rocky looking at some Claymore burials. He lets out a sigh of relief after finding out that none of the swords belong to Claire. He later meets a cute little girl who gets attached to him rather quickly, accompanied by a white-haired man claiming to be her companion. The white-haired man asks Rocky to join them in finding a warm shelter. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the white-haired man calls the girl a name we're very familiar with.
Come along then. Priscilla.
Oh, In the next episode, the white-haired man insists Rocky join his party, especially since Priscilla won't let him go. A stranger on a cart then passes by, warning them to avoid Pieta because of the Claymores. Hearing this, Rocky attempts to leave and head to Pieta, but the white-haired man stops him and offers to join him, as he and Priscilla are also heading there. How convenient! Later on, the three of them set up camp. There, the white-haired man asks Rocky why he's rushing to meet the Claymore. Rocky explains how he believes Claire is in great danger, and after all this time, it's his turn to protect her. The white-haired man sees his conviction and then borrows Rocky's sword to swing it around, showing off his own sick sword skills. Yeah, if you guys haven't noticed it yet, this person is Eiley. And after seeing Eiley's demonstration, Rocky begs Eiley to train him, and of course, Eiley agrees. Back in Pieta, the Claymore's morale is low due to the difficulty of fighting awakened beings. Unable to handle the team's whining, Undine leaves the room and goes to the storage area, where Deneve finds her hiding inside a room. There, Deneve slowly approaches and interrogates her about her other sword. See, Undine was actually a dual wielder way before Kirito even existed. You know, the black swordsman. While it's cool in SAO, this apparently presents a problem for Claymores, as their swords act as their tombstone when they die. This means that Undine might have gotten her sword from a dead Claymore, and that Claymore no longer has a tombstone. As Deneve approaches the room where Undine is hiding, Undine shouts at her to leave her alone, but Deneve ignores her and opens the door. What greets her is a crying Undine without her jacked up arms. What the heck is going on? At just one look, Deneve figures out everything about Undine. She realizes that the sword Undine carries was her friend's, and that she abuses her Yoki powers to jack up her arms, allowing her to use two swords. Deneve shares a little about herself. Apparently, her family was attacked by a Yoma at their home. The only reason Deneve survived is because her sister managed to hide her by throwing her under the bed. Jeez. And after becoming a Claymore, she decided to fight Yomas without concern for her life. It was only when she met Helen, who told her to move on from the past, that she started wanting to survive again. After hearing Deneve's story, Undine loosens up a bit. On Claire's side of things, Flora takes her outside the city, because she, apparently, doesn't trust her. During the fight earlier, Flora immediately knew that Claire's right arm wasn't hers. She correctly identifies it as Elena's and starts asking Claire why she has it. Claire remains silent, prompting Flora to reach for her sword. Jean, once again the realist bro, steps in to stop the fight. Jean tells Flora that if she wants to fight Claire, she's gonna have to go through her first. Claire interrupts and finally reveals that her arm is indeed from Elena, but it's actually a gift from her. Hearing Claire's story, including her quest to kill Priscilla, Flora finally trusts her, and the three of them do this. They really like doing that, huh? In the distance, Ailey meets the mysterious Rigardo, his second in command. Ailey tells him to gather the army of awakened beings and attack Pieta. Oh no. In the next episode, Ailey, Rocky, and Priscilla continue their journey to Pieta. Speaking of Pieta, the Claymores over there start to notice the large shift in Yoki aura and prepare for the battle against the awakened beings headed toward the city. The invasion starts shortly after, and the Claymores are divided into their squads once again. It's not looking good for the Claymores, with most of them losing their lives immediately. The Claymores regain their footing soon after, and not gonna lie, this looks a lot like Attack on Titan. Rigardo looks over the operation from afar and thinks that it's taking too long, so he makes his way towards Pieta. And back to Rocky, he notices that Priscilla is gone. He alerts Ailey and leaves to search for her, and then he hears a scream from afar and thinks that Priscilla might be involved, so he preps his sword ready for a fight. On his way, he meets a random woman screaming about a monster. Rocky continues on his way with even more caution. Soon after, he finds Priscilla inside a cave, eating a person's internal organs. Yikes, dude. Back in Pieta, Rigardo recalls the awakened beings and takes matters into his own hands. The Claymores prepare to face Rigardo, but Rigardo's strength is just too much. He ends up eliminating Veronica, Undine, Jean, and Flora from the action in one fell swoop, leaving Miraya as the only squad leader left standing. Things are not looking good for these Claymores. Meanwhile, Rocky finally figures out the truth behind Priscilla, and after realizing that she's a Yoma, Rocky tries taking her out with his sword. But he hesitates after hearing Priscilla call for her family. Rocky gets all confused about the whole thing and ends up dropping his sword. And this is where Ailey reveals that Priscilla is actually an awakened being, a human before she turned into a Yoma. After hearing that she was a human, Rocky tries to reason with her and help her regain her humanity, but instead, she just continues to eat the innards of the person she just killed, straight up ignoring him. In episode 22, the battle in Pieta continues with Claire, Deneve, Miraya, and Helen taking on Rigardo. Rigardo has his eyes set on Miraya, but both Deneve and Claire step in to defend her. Luckily, the two of them somehow fend off Rigardo and save Miraya, and over on Rocky's side, he struggles to understand Priscilla. Despite seeing Priscilla's actions earlier, Rocky stays by her side as she sleeps. There, Ailey explains to Rocky that the possibility of awakening is just one of the many dangers of being a Claymore. Finally, Ailey urges Rocky to get some rest. They still gotta get to Pieta the next day. Rocky asks him what else he's hiding, and Ailey mysteriously assures him that he's going to find out soon enough. Alright, Captain Ominous. And in Pieta, the four Claymores, Miraya, Claire, Deneve, and Helen, are still fighting Rigardo. There, a mistake from Deneve allows Rigardo to stab her, taking her out of the fight. Then, Rigardo lands a hit on Miraya, wounding her. Helen and Claire try to team up against Rigardo, but he simply swats them to the side and continues his onslaught. We then jump to Rocky, Ailey, and Priscilla. On their way to Pieta, the party meets a couple of robed strangers, telling them to run away because Yomas are attacking Pieta. Rocky realizes that Claire is taking part in the battle, so he takes his horse and rushes over, making Priscilla hella sad. Aww. I know Priscilla is a monster and all, but man, The battle in Pieta reaches new heights as Rigardo lands a clean hit on Mireia during one of her attempts to get behind him. Claire tries to save Mireia, but she notices that she's too slow. So she starts looking for ways to speed her up, and then this happens.
What? What the hell?
Hell yeah! Claire pushes herself to the limit once more and cuts through Rigardo's right arm, saving Mireia in the process. Nice! In the next episode, Rigardo takes a look at Claire's legs and discovered that she has only awakened that part of her body, preventing her Yoma side from taking over her brain. Claire continues to fight Rigardo as the other Claymores bring the wounded to a safer place. As the battle between Claire and Rigardo progresses, Rigardo realizes that Claire can only charge in a straight line. Claire sees this realization, so she reaches from within once more to match Rigardo. Helen manages to enter the fray once more, giving Claire much needed help. Then, for some reason, Claire gains the ability to control her trajectory. This really puzzles Rigardo, making him insanely impressed. Now, he's taking this fight way more seriously. Claire better watch out. With Claire's fight seemingly taking forever, the other Claymores are almost fully recovered. As the battle continues, Rocky arrives at Pieta, right in the middle of the action. Helen sees him and shoves him out of danger. Mireia then recognizes Rocky and realizes that he's here to meet Claire. Both Mireia and Helen try to discourage Rocky from meeting Claire, but of course, Rocky ignores them and heads back to the plaza, straight to the main battle. Thankfully though, Mireia sends Helen to protect him just in case. Rocky finally catches sight of Claire, seeing her lower half already awakened, and with that, he makes it his responsibility to save Claire from awakening. He genuinely cares for her if you haven't noticed. But after staying a few seconds longer, Rocky loses his drive and starts sulking. While Rocky does his sad boy antics, Claire continues to push herself to defeat Rigardo. Mireia warns Claire to stop pushing herself too much, but Claire ignores her, finally reaching a point where she's much stronger than him. But at what cost? Episode 24 starts with Priscilla sensing a huge yokai aura from far away. The aura she sensed is most likely from Claire, due to her pushing her body to the limit to kill Ricardo. And in Pieta, Helen passes the news that Ricardo has been killed, but Mireia notices something wrong coming from the plaza. Helen rushes over to the plaza to see Claire starting to awaken. But this time, Claire is really far over the edge. She can't seem to control herself anymore. So Claire asks Helen to kill her. Helen hesitates to kill Claire, but Claire's awakening is starting to get out of hand. In the distance, Priscilla heads over to Pieta and sees the destruction firsthand, which reminds her of the time when her family was attacked by a Yoma. Suddenly, she steps on a sword and has a major flashback, remembering her days as a Claymore. So, in other words, she has amnesia. She even recalls the name Teresa. Priscilla's memories start coming back one by one, and after a while, she starts transforming into an awakened being. Meanwhile, Claire's awakening gets progressively worse, and she starts urging Helen to kill her. However, deep inside, she wishes she could have seen Rocky one last time. And speaking of Rocky, he's just crying like a baby somewhere else. Come on, man, what are you doing? Oh, you thought Jean was dead? Nah, she's still alive, but she's in real bad shape. Jean starts making her way to Claire, hoping to stop Claire's awakening. And just as things are starting to look really bad for Claire, she detects Priscilla, making her power up even more. She then jumps and leaves the area. The scene then shifts over to somewhere far away from Pieta, where Rubel and Galatea are. Rubel orders Galatea to head to the north and explicitly states that she should not interfere. She's only there to observe. Rubel adds that interference will be seen as an act of transgression against the organization. Now, back to Pieta again. This anime sure likes jumping around. Mireia tells Helen that they need to catch up to Claire. Deneve, looking at Undine's dead body, pays her respects and takes her sword, continuing the tradition. Damn. Anyway, before leaving Pieta, Mireia and Helen set out to find Rocky and give him his sword back. And after determining Claire's whereabouts in the snowy mountains, Mireia, Helen, and Deneve climb their way to Claire. There, they meet Galatea, who helps them find Claire's location using her Yoki sensing powers. Hold up, how did Galatea get there that quickly? Anyway, Galatea reveals that Claire is fighting against Priscilla. She urges them to hurry and save Claire. Back in Pieta, Jean is still messed up from the previous fight, but she manages to approach Rocky and tell him that crying will simply not solve anything. Rocky does his sad boy yapping again. Oh my God, get it together. Luckily, after seeing Jean's determination to help Claire, despite her wounds, Rocky gets his balls back.
Okay. I'm in.
And over in the distance, Priscilla and Claire prepare to fight at the crater of a volcano, because there's nothing more badass than a freaking volcano fight, right? In the next episode, Claire takes the first strike at Priscilla. However, Priscilla deflects them all with ease. Eiley oversees the battle at a distance, noting that Priscilla is finally back to being an awakened being. However, he also starts wondering about Claire's Yoki powers, taking an interest in her. Meanwhile, Mireia, Deneve, and Helen feel Claire's powers growing stronger. Helen and Deneve start wondering why Claire is so obsessed with killing Priscilla, and Mireia finally explains Claire's revenge quest. Afterwards, Mireia starts worrying if Claire will even be able to get her revenge before she fully awakens. Mireia then tells the others to hurry the hell up. They should not let Claire awaken. Rocky and Jean make their own journey toward Claire, and on the way, they notice that the 3 Claymores ahead of them have already left directions. Now, back to Claire. Priscilla starts calling her Teresa, sensing Teresa's Yoki aura inside Claire. This enrages Claire, leading her to fight recklessly. Priscilla takes advantage of her blind rage and stabs Claire, leaving her to bleed on the ground. Priscilla readies her final blow, but Helen steps in just in time, allowing Mireia to take Claire away. Then, Mireia, Helen, and Deneve ready themselves to face Priscilla. Mireia cuts one of Priscilla's wings, enraging Priscilla and causing her to release large amounts of Yoki power. Priscilla blasts Deneve and Helen away from her, while Mireia barely holds on. Outside the volcano, Rocky and Jean feel the release of Yoki power as they approach the location. Despite her wounds, Jean picks up Rocky and starts speeding up so they can save Claire as soon as possible. Suddenly, Priscilla catches the Claymores off guard by fully awakening. She then regenerates her wing, and now she kinda just looks like a Baki character. Anyway, she tries killing everyone, and she kinda succeeds. She cuts off one of Deneve's arms and one of Helen's legs. God damn. Thankfully though, Mireia only gets a tight squeeze from Priscilla, causing her to pass out. Seeing all the pain around her, Claire starts lamenting the fact that she can't defend or save any of her comrades. Then, for some reason, she starts daydreaming about Teresa, which reawakens her hatred for Priscilla. Man, damn, is that all you live for? Oh, also, Jean and Rocky finally arrive at the scene.
Claire!
Took them long enough. And in the final episode, this crazy fight finally makes Claire fully awaken. As part of her quest to defeat Priscilla, the real fight starts now. The two start moving at lightning speed and start hitting each other with insanely powerful blows. Then, like clockwork, Rocky starts crying yet again. He wonders why they need to fight. Suddenly, Priscilla finds an opportunity to grab Claire and stop her from moving. She tosses Claire into the air and hits her with needles, causing Claire to fall straight into the lava below. Jesus Christ! However, before touching the lava, Claire activates the tentacles behind her and uses them as propellers, allowing her to fly around. Whew! Ooh, that was close. She then charges towards Priscilla and finally lands a substantial blow. Priscilla picks herself up and hears Claire slowly approaching her. Claire readies the final blow to kill Priscilla, but Rocky gets in the way and stops her. He reminds Claire that Priscilla lost people dear to her too. He then hugs Claire and reminds her of the promise they made to each other. And to put the cherry on top, Rocky finally confesses his love for her. After hearing all of this, Claire starts crying and recognizes Rocky, but Claire can't control her Yoma side anymore, and her tentacles lash out toward Rocky, aiming to pierce him. All of a sudden, Jean steps in to sacrifice herself to save him. No. Jean looks over at Rocky and commends him for not running away. She then turns to Claire and reminds her of the time when she saved her from turning into an awakened being. Finally, Jean spends her remaining Yoki to fully revert Claire back to her human side.
Just live, please, Claire. I'm glad that we were friends.
Claire mourns Jean's death and breaks down in tears. Dang, this cannot be happening. With everyone shocked about Jean's death, Eiley swoops in to retrieve Priscilla, who's now returned to her human state. He looks over to Rocky and tells him to sharpen his swordplay in preparation for them possibly meeting in the future. Later, Deneve, Mariah, and Helen leave the volcano right after they helped Rocky and Claire bury Jean. Mariah tells Deneve and Helen that it's time for them to go their separate ways once again. The three plan to be deserters, waiting for the perfect time to tear the organization down. We then jump back to Claire as she looks at Rocky and tells him that she no longer intends to go back to the organization. Just like Teresa, she tells Rocky that the path ahead is going to be filled with even more hardships. She then asks Rocky if he's still planning to follow her, and surprise, surprise, Rocky happily says yes. Before leaving Jean's burial site, Claire sees Teresa's ghost smiling at her. All's well that ends well. And this is how our friend Claire ends her quest for vengeance. Man, Rocky is one lucky dude. Anyway, here's a video that you might enjoy, so go on, click it, check it out, and in the meantime, peace!